Hello YouTube, this is the Potemkin Villager with a deck tech, and this is the deck that I've been running for the last few weeks in Gatecrash Standard. It's Naya Midrange, so let's go. So starting off with a mana base, we have 4 Stomping Grounds, 4 Temple Gardens, and 4 Sacred Foundries. Pretty standard. Shocklands are good, they cause all your core set lands and Innistrad duels to come in untapped, and speaking of that, we have 4 Sunpetal Groves, 3 Rootbound Crags, 2 Clifftop Retreats, a Kessig Wolf Run, Basic Plains, and Basic Mountain. Now, I'm going to go up to another Kessig Wolf Run instead of the Plains. I just think I like the interaction with all the creatures in the deck, and it's an easy way to put pressure without having to have a bunch of creatures on board. Anyway, let's move on to the creatures. So starting off, we have 3 Avacyn's Pilgrims. They're mana dorks. They're good for acceleration in the early game. The reason I'm not running 4 is because they're really at their best on turn 1 or 2. Past that, they're kind of dead draws because you only really need the acceleration in the early game. So, but on turn 1 or 2, they can help you accelerate into these Boros Reckoners, which we have 4 of, and Boros Reckoner is, obviously one of the premier cards of Gatecrash. It's been doing really well. It's a good blocker. It holds the fort really well against aggro, and even though he's not that much of an attacker against other decks, he can still put on pressure. Next we have Loxodon Smiter as a 3 of, and Loxodon Smiter is just a really solid card. It's a 3 for 3 mana, 4/4, can't be countered. And although a lot of people seem to forget about this last ability, I found it's really relevant. With all the Liliana the Veils running around in Standard, causing you to discard, if you're playing John Midrange or something, you can just hold on to these in your hand, and as soon as they drop a Liliana, you can blow them out with it. Just discard this, and it just goes right onto the battlefield. So I really like that. I've played games where I've gotten Rakdos' Return, put 2 of these onto the battlefield, they lose. So yeah. Next we have 4 Huntmasters, pretty standard in any deck like this. It just gains you back life, gives you an extra blocker, and has some good interactions, especially with Wolf Run, as you can just pass the turn, allow him to transform, and if you pass the turn with just having attacked with that and Wolf Running, then you can transform him and still get in a lot of damage. Also, another good interaction is with Restoration Angel, because if you just pass the turn without casting any spells, you can flip the Huntmaster on their turn, then flash in a Restoration Angel on their turn, and flip him back, gaining an extra 2 life and getting another wolf. Next we have Thragtusk, another good thing that combos well with Restoration Angel. Enters the battlefield, gains you 5 life, leaves, you get a beast. It's just like these 2 cards are meant for each other. Come on. So yeah, also pretty standard in this type of deck. It's a good life buffer against many other decks, especially aggro and other mid-range decks. Next we have Thundermaw Hellkite. This is really one of the big finishers of the deck. It just puts on so much pressure. It's an automatic 4-turn clock in this guy. At worst, it's a 5 mana, 5 damage, may kill some of their flyers, blockers, that they have to answer. If they don't have a removal spell for this thing, they're dead, basically. Sorry about that, guys. Camera just ran out of battery. And so, anyway, as I was saying, we have a 1-of Aurelia the Warleader, and in this type of build with a bunch of other creatures, she's basically just 6 mana, you win the game. So she gives you an extra combat phase, and if they don't have an answer her as well, they lose. Moving on from creatures now, we have 4 Farseeks. They're good mana fixers, especially with mana-intensive things like Aurelia that require specific balance of mana. Also, they're accelerants. They can make you hit your big bombs a turn earlier. They're just really good in any green deck, essentially. We also have 2 Domri Rade, and this guy I think has been like really underplayed in Standard. He's a 3-mana Planeswalker. You can hit him on turn 2 if you have Avacyn's Pilgrim turn 1. And he's a card advantage in green and removal in green, which is pretty sweet. Also, I've gotten the emblem out on him a few times. With this, it's unbeatable. Your Thragtusks hit the battlefield, they swing for 10, and yeah. We also have 2 Garruk Primal Hunters, as I was saying, mana intensive, triple green, but with all the fixing, he's never actually really hard to cast. This guy's really good. It's a +1, he defends himself, puts a beast onto the battlefield, but the real reason you use him is for the -3, for draw cards. At this point, especially in late game, you've probably exhausted most of your hand. This guy, he just refills it and puts more pressure on them. Sorry guys, I had to clear some memory off of the camera for this, but yeah, let's get back into it. So, yeah, 1 of Bonfire of the Damned. I've been blown out so many times by this. I've lost many, many games to this card. Yeah, it's just, off of a miracle, it can completely wipe their board, leave them wide open to your attacks, deal them damage to the face. It's just a lot of stuff in one card. And here we have 2 Blasphemous Acts. They're mostly just a placeholder for 2 more Bonfires once I can get them. But right now, it's just kind of fun to run them. There's that fun interaction with Boros Reckoner. If you have a Boros Reckoner out, you Blasphemous Act, it's 13 to their face. Actually, and that was a big thing in the Pro Tour. Tom Martell with his deck, he did that, and it was pretty intense. So yeah, this is the main deck right here, and let's move on to the sideboard. Okay guys, we're back here with the sideboard. So we have a 1 of Zealous Conscripts. It's just really fun. I keep it in there mostly because a lot of my friends have started to play that mono-black control deck that Conley played in the Pro Tour, the one that features Gristlebrand. It's just kind of fun. They throw down a Gristlebrand, you have this thing, yeah, and the rest is self-explanatory. So against Naya Blitz and John Daggro, the hyper aggro decks, we have these guys. Rhox Faithmender has lifelink, he has large toughness, he blocks basically all of the creatures in that deck and gains UI. Centaur Healer also I board in for the Loxodon Smiters because it's just 1 less power and toughness, but he gives you an extra life cushion, which is pretty vital against those decks. Also, we have Mizium Mortars, which deals with the smaller threats that they have in the early game, which is also pretty helpful. This is pretty good against Champion of the Parish, so it doesn't get out of hand early. And yeah. Next, we have 2 Boros Charms and 3 Thalia. These are my main sideboard against control. Boros Charm, a lot of the times with this deck, I've noticed, is you get them down to a pretty low life, and once they stabilize, it's harder to. So a lot of times it can be used in the form of either double strike or the direct damage. Just an extra finisher against them that they have fewer answers to. The only way they can really answer is through counterspell. Thalia is pretty self-explanatory against control. It just makes all their stuff harder to cast, can slow them down by at least a turn. Just gives you extra time, and as long as they can't stabilize, you're good to go against them. Lastly, we have 2 Oblivion Rings, just pretty standard all-around removal. Mostly boarded in probably against maybe Naya Midrange or Control, or again, mono-black Control with Gristlebrand. But yeah, these are just an easy way to answer threats against you. So, yeah, so this has been the Naya Midrange deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the first deck tech, obviously. And by the way, all of the cards in the deck and in the sideboard that are unfoiled, I would like to get them foiled, because, let's face it, who doesn't like foils? So yeah, if you have any of these, and you can just go check out my binder video, and if you have any of the foil ones you want to trade to me, then just PM me and maybe we can work out a deal. Thanks, bye.